Welcome to the channel, it's T-Money Magic. Today we're going to be diving in to check out the new cards in the Lowryn set. We're going to be starting off with our colorless, multicolor, and land cards. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm just going to have the card that I'm talking about on the screen. Beside that card, there will be a letter grade. Pretty standard letter grade. A is a bomb. It's a card that you're going to want to play every single time in limited. B is a card that you're going to want to have in your deck every single time. It might not break the game, but it is a very solid card. You're going to be very happy with it. C is going to be just a playable card. You'll use these cards to kind of fill out the deck and make sure that you have enough playables. D is going to be a situational sideboard card. Probably not the best card that you can be playing. If you're desperate, you'll play it. But usually these are cards that you're kind of like picking from the sideboard and very situational circumstances. And then Fs are just cards you should avoid at all time. Again, this is just for limited. Who knows how good these cards are going to be in other formats, but we're just going to be talking about limited. And with that, we're going to go ahead and dive in. First, we have an Abigail Eloquent First Year. It is 2 mana. It is a legendary bird barb creature, and it has flying, first strike, and lifelink. And when Abigail enters, up to one other target creature loses all abilities, put a flying counter, a first strike counter, and a lifelink counter on that creature. I think this card's really solid. I really like the flexibility that you can have when playing this card. Do keep in mind, particularly in the black-white colors, there's a lot of cards that enter with -1/-1 counters on them. So you'll definitely want to make sure that you have those removed before you target them. A lot of those cards, they have ways to self-remove them, but because of her ability, when you put the counters on them, they will lose that. So they'll be stuck at whatever they enter it in. So just keep that in mind when playing it. But I do think it's a very solid card. You're going to be happy to have this card in your deck. Next, we have an Ashling's Command. I love command cards. This one is 5 mana, and it is in the blue and red color pair. And basically, it is a Kindred instant elemental. So Kindred is a very interesting kind of mechanic. So I think about cards that for this one, it's like elemental. So if you ever have a card that's like reveal the top cards of your deck until you reveal an elemental, you may put that into your hand. That's what this is kind of really good for. I don't think there's anything in this limited set that's going to come up too often. It does not help if you have a card that says, when this creature enters, look for another elemental creature, because it isn't a creature. It has the elemental typing. But with that, the options are you choose 2 of these options. You can create a token that's a copy of target element you control. Target player draws 2 cards. Ashling's Command deals 2 damage to each creature target player controls, and target player creates 2 treasure tokens. These are great. All of these are flexible. I think most often you're going to be doing you're definitely going to want to be creating 2 treasure tokens. You might want to draw 2 cards. You might want to create a copy if you have like a insane elemental on the battlefield or something. The 2 damage each creature might be a little situational, but again, because there's so many cards in this format that enter with -1 counters on them, there's a good chance that you're picking off a lot of stuff. So all 4 of these options are great. You're going to be happy with any of them. I think it's an excellent card to have. Next, we have Bogart Curse Crafter. It is a black and a red. It has Death Touch. It's a goblin warlock, and whenever another goblin you control dies, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. There's tons of goblins, particularly in black and red. It's an overstated card for what it is. 2 mana, 2/3 is a very solid stat line. You're going to be very happy to have this in your goblin decks. It's going to do a lot of work for you. Next, we have Bree of Clan Stout Arm. It is 4 mana in the red and white color pair, and it is a legendary creature, giant warrior. It has 1 generic and a white. Tap another target creature you control gains flying and lifelink until end of turn. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost if the spell's mana value is less than or equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So this is an insane card. You're going to love to have this in your red-white decks. It just does a lot. Typically, in typical red-white fashion, a lot of this stuff is going to be lower costed anyway, so this will kind of be one of your top-end cards. You can get your smaller creatures to get in the air, and you'll probably end up with another creature on the battlefield or a nice spell or, anything like that. In worst case scenario, it helps you draw a card and you just have an extra, it's just card advantage, which is probably like one of the strongest things you can have in limited. It's an excellent card. You're going to want it every time. Next, we have Brigade's Command. It is in the green-white pairing, and it is also one of those kindred spells. This one is a Kifkin, so you can choose two. You can create a token that's a copy of target Kifkin you control. Target player creates a 1/1 green and white Kifkin creature token. Target creature you control gets +3/+3 until end of turn. Target creature you control fights target creature and opponent control. Again, these are all very situational, but you're going to be happy to choose any of these two options, regardless of where you're at in the game. You can't really go wrong with any of this. It can pump up your whole board later in the game because green, white, want to go wide, want to have a lot of creatures on the battlefield. It can help you close out a game. It can get rid of some other threats if you have a bigger creature and you're just trying to remove something so you can get in for lethal. Being able to just create a token solid if you're desperate. Probably one of the options that come up less option, or one of the options that you would choose to do less. Creature token that's a copy of create a token that's a copy of Kifkin you control is also a solid. If you have a decent Kifkin, keep in mind there's a lot of changelings and stuff too, and that does count. So there's a lot of value in this. It's another card where if you're in the green-white pairing, you're going to be very happy to have it. Next, we have Catharsis. It is 6 mana in the red and white color pairing. It's a creature elemental incarnation. There is a cycle of these, so this is the red-white cycle for this. It reads, when this creature enters, if 2 white was spent to cast it, create 2 1/1 green and white Kifkin tokens. When this creature enters, if 2 red was spent to cast it, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. And it also has a evoke for either one of red and white each, the red-white hybrid mana. Evoke, if you don't know, is basically it's where you can play it for its evoke cost, but if you do, you have to sacrifice it. So in a worst case scenario, you can lay this down. Like imagine you're in a situation where you don't have 6 mana, but you have 5 mana. So you lay down a 3-drop, you already have a decent board state, and then you leave up double red and you lay this card down. Well, you're going to love it because all your creatures get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. So your 3 mana card also gets haste and gets that buff. This creature also still gets that buff, and then you could hopefully be able to swing in it for lethal. So that's going to be great. If you do wait and you get it all the way up to 6 mana, you're going to be very happy. You can either be in a situation where you end up with 4 1/1 tokens, and all 4 of them, if you have the double red, is also going to get, they're going to get buffed, and then you can swing in. That's going to be incredibly backbreaking. I think this card is insane. It's definitely one of the best cards in the set, and you're going to be very thrilled to have it. Next, we have Chaos Spewer. It is in the black-red color pair. It's another goblin. You can tell the black-red is heavily synergized around goblins. When this creature enters, you may pay 2 if you don't blight 2. So blight 2 is a new mechanic. What it means is you put 2 -1/-1 counters on a creature you control. But do keep in mind, it just says a creature you control. So you don't necessarily have to put it on your Chaos Spewer. So even if you don't have the 5 mana, just cast it normally, there's a chance where you can pay the 3 mana and you can put your counters on, something that is small that you don't really care to go away. And then on turn 3, you have 5/4, which is an incredible rate to have for a card. I think it's a very solid common. You're going to be very pleased to have it. Next, we have Chitinous Graspling. It is in the green-blue color pairing, and it is a shapeshifter. It's a changeling, and it has reach, and it's 3/4 power. This creature's solid. I mean, you're gonna this is Lowryn, so creature types matter, and the fact that it's a changeling, you can end up with some synergy that you don't even realize having it. The fact that it is a hybrid mana, you can either put it in your green decks, which is more of like your elf decks, or you can put it in your blue decks, which is more of your merfolks and things like that. Either way, you're going to be very happy with it. It's a solid card. I mean, it's not groundbreaking or anything, but having reach does help get rid of some flyers. There is going to be a decent amount of flyers with like fairies and stuff like that running around, so you'll enjoy having it when you need it. It's kind of one of those cards where when you have to cut it, you won't feel bad, and when you have to play it, you won't feel bad. Next, we have Deceit. It is 6 mana in the black and blue color pairing. It's an elemental incarnation, and when this creature enters, if double blue was spent to cast it, return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If double black was spent to cast it, target opponent reveals their hand, you choose a non-land card from it. That player discards that card, and you can invoke this out as well. So this card is interesting. I don't think it's nearly as good as the first the Boros color pairing that we saw of this, but you're going to be happy with this. I mean, if you wait till turn 6 and you lay it down and you spend like 4 black mana on it, and your opponent has 2 cards in their hand, and they both happen to be non-lands, you're going to feel thrilled. The problem is in limited, that's probably not the case. So you're not really going to get that effect. The bounce spell is going to be huge. I mean, especially if you get it in the late game and then it bounces something and you're able to swing in and get damage that you wouldn't have been able to do. So I do think it makes it better on the bounce part than the discard part. Discarding in limited is always kind of situational and, not something that you want to be taking too highly. If you invoke this, because it's in black and there's ways in black where you can return things from the graveyard, and black really cares about the graveyard, it might not be the worst option to have, just as something that you can get back out later on. But if you're like playing 2 mana to bounce something, but then, your creature goes to the graveyard, you're not really coming out ahead on anything. I mean, you're still going to play this card. You're not going to not play it. But I don't think it's nearly as strong as the first one that we saw. Next, we have a Deep Channel Duelist. It is in the white-blue color pairing. It is a merfolk, which is very important in this set. My southern accent is coming out. I've realized I have a hard time saying merfolk. But yes, at the beginning of your end step, untap a target merfolk you control. Other merfolk you control get +1/+1. This is a solid lord. It's an uncommon, and it's not a legendary. So you can have multiple of these that can pump each other up. You're going to be really, really excited to have this in the synergistic deck that it goes with in the merfolk color pairing. So yeah, just a really solid card. You're going to be happy to have it. Next, we have Deepway Navigator. It is a white and a blue. It is a merfolk wizard. It has flash, and when this creature enters, untap each other merfolk you control. As long as you attack with 3 or more merfolk this turn, they each get +1/+0. This card is really strong. You can ambush people with it pretty easily because you can untap your other merfolk to really make it pop. So even if it's not necessarily like the best blocker or the best defense, if you play it later on in the game, if they're swinging in with something larger, this isn't really going to help you with ambush, but maybe your other creatures can. And then the fact that it makes all your merfolk bigger whenever you are able to swing with a lot of them, I think that's very huge. Not only that, but also in this color pairing, they do care about Convoke a lot. Convoke is really powerful, really prominent in the white-blue color pairing. So there's a situation in which, you have to tap all your creatures, but you are able to leave enough mana up to where you can flash this in on your opponent's turn and kind of really take them by surprise. I think it's a really solid card. You're going to enjoy having it in the right color pair. Next, we have Duran, Besieged by Time. It is in the Abzan color pairing. It's a white, black, and green 4-mana card. It's a legendary creature, Tree Folk Druid. Each creature spell you cast with toughness greater than its power costs 1 less to cast. Whenever a creature you control attacks or blocks, it gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is its difference between its power and its toughness. This card is incredible. I've looked over the set. There's a lot of cards in white, green, and black where the toughness is higher, so you'll get that mana reduction. And then on top of that, the worst case scenario is it's a 0/5, and whenever someone blocks it or attacks into it, it turns into a 5/10, and whenever you swing with it, it's a 5/10. So both those are really strong and incredible. You're going to love having this card in the right deck. I have Dream Harvest. It is 7 mana in the black-blue color pairing. It's a sorcery. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they have exiles card with total mana value 5 or greater this way. Until end of turn, you may cast cards exiled this way without paying their mana cost. This card is more for Commander and things like that. However, I do see a lot of value in it. If you look at it, the problem that I have is that getting to 7 mana is pretty difficult to do in limited, just because of how black and blue operate. If there was like a grindier deck, it would be in this color pair, so it's good for that. If you were to get to 7 mana and you're able to cast this, the worst case scenario is you exile a 5 mana creature, but it's from your opponent's deck. So it's like you're still taking away from them. And, if it's a 5-drop or more, it's probably a pretty powerful card that you're taking. Worst case, if it's you exile 3 2-mana cards, you get 3 2-mana cards of value. You can get a 2-mana card and a 3-mana card. I think one of the nastiest things would be if you hit like a 4-drop and then you hit another 4-drop or like a 3-drop or something. Like there's a high upside with this. There is kind of like a downside too. Again, it's 7 mana. It could be a little bit too late in the game once it's cast. But I'm pretty high on this card. I think you'd be really happy to play it. And I think it's going to surprise a lot of people. Next, we have a cycle of cards. They're all Eclipse cards. I'm just going to show all of them at the same time. They all kind of do more or less the same thing, depending on the color pairing. So, like in the black red, you have a goblin. In the green black, you have an elf. In the red blue, you have an elemental. In the green white, you have a Kifkin. And then in the white blue, you have a merfolk. They're all kind of similar in what they do. When you lay down, you get to look for another creature type that matches theirs, or whatever land they're in. So like for the goblin, it's a swamp and a mountain. For the eclipse elf, it's swamp forest and so on and so forth. They're all very solid. They're all going to go great in their color pairings. You're going to be happy with all of them. It is a little bit interesting that for the elemental, instead of it being the 3 hybrid mana, it's a 1 generic pip. I think that's more for like the vivid effect and things like that. But still, I mean, it's not a big enough difference or anything. I mean, I think the Kifkin's probably the strongest out of all of them, but it's like, maybe one of them's a C minus and the other one's a C plus. Like, but none of them are crazy, and none of them are terrible. So you're going to be happy taking all of them if you're in those color pairing. Next, we have a very dark card. It's called Emptiness. Sometimes when I'm looking at these cards, and especially when there's like no flavor text or anything, you're just like, wow, man, I hope whoever was designing this card was in a good headspace. But kind of just dark and dreary emptiness. But anyway, so for 6 mana, it's in the white and black color pairing. It's another one of those elemental incarnations. It says when this creature enters, if double white was spent to cast it, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. If it enters and double black was spent to cast it, put 3 -1/-1 counters on up to 1 target creature. Again, I think this one is more on par with the Boros one as just being absolutely insane. You're going to be very happy with it. And I can think it's a little bit better because, again, being in the black color pair, there's a lot of graveyard stuff going on with that. There's ways you can get it back. So there's a world in which, like, they lay down an early threat. You don't have the mana, but you need to get rid of that threat because you don't want it to stay on the battlefield. And you can just lay out double black and you get you get to remove it because of the counters. Later on in the game, if you are able to hold on to it and you've had other creatures that you've either sacrificed or that's left the battlefield for one reason or another, and you get the double white, it's basically, you're getting multiple cards out of it. So I think it's a really, really strong card. You're going to be very happy to have it in your deck. Next, we have a Feisty Spikeling. It is in the red and white color pairing. It is a shapeshifter. It's changeling, and during your turn, it has first strike. We've seen cards like this in the past without the shapeshifter type, and they're always really good. And this card's even better because it fits in so nicely with so many decks because of all the synergies that it has. If you're in one deck, a red deck, you can have it be a goblin. If you're in the other red deck, you can have it be an elemental. If you're in the white color pair, it can be a Kifkin, it can be a merfolk. Like, it's just so it can be anything you need it to be, and that's what makes it so good. And on top of that, just a nice statted body. But yeah, so you're going to be really happy to play this card, and I think it'll fit in very nicely with any deck you put it into. Next, we have Figure of the Fable. It is in the green-white hybrid mana. It's a Kifkin. This is one of these kind of like, I guess, like leveling, but they don't call it leveling anymore. But basically, like, it comes down and it's a 1/1. And then the next turn, you can pay either a green or a white, and then it becomes a 2/3. And then a couple of turns later, you can pay 1 generic, and then white or green, double pip, and it becomes a 4/5. And then super late into the game, you can pay a total of 6 mana, 3 of those being either green or white, and it becomes a 7/8. It has protection from each of your opponents. So obviously in limited, you're only playing against one opponent, but that is huge. It just scales all game long, and you're going to be very happy to have it in your deck. And because of the way that it's statted, you can even do something where, like, even if you're not necessarily a Kifkin deck, you're more in like one of the other color pairings, you're still going to be happy to just have, because by the time that it really matters, you're going to have the color pairs that you need to be able to make it go off and do its thing. I think it's great. It's going to fit into a lot of decks. You're going to be really happy with it. Next, we have Flaring Cinder. It's in the blue-red color pairing. It's an elemental. And it states, when this creature enters and whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's a 3/2. It's for 3 mana, and it's kind of situational. When you lay it down as a creature because of the enters trigger, you will still be able to draw and discard, which is good, or discard and then draw. But I do think there is it kind of gets chokeholded because having 4 mana or greater is a cool mechanic to try to work out, or like a cool theme that they're trying to do. We see it with Is It all the time, where sometimes it's only spells, sometimes it's only instants or sorceries. This one just says spells, so it can be creatures, it can be your sorcery, it can be a enchantment. I mean, whatever you need it to be, as long as it's 4 or greater. But similar to in past sets where we've seen them try to do something with like 4 or greater toughness or 4 or greater this or that, it just you really don't want too many 4, 5, and 6 drops in your deck, anyways. So it kind of becomes less good. And again, it's understated. I think it's kind of like one of the worser.
This card's solid
out of these like common. Well, they're not gold cards anymore, but just like out of the common cards, that is in like the 2 different hybrid colors. If you're desperate, you'll play it, but you won't feel bad about cutting it either. So we have a Gangling Stopling. It is in the green-red color pairing. It's a changeling, and it has trample. It has is a 4/2. So this card's solid. You got to think if you're in like the Goblin deck, it's a 4/2 Goblin. If you're in the green deck, it's a 4/2 Kipkin or a 4/2 Elf or anything or an Elemental because of that changeling ability. We see cards like this all the time where they're 3 mana, they're 4/2, and they don't really do much other than being like a good blocker. Or potentially a good attacker. This one was definitely designed to be more of an attacker, but you can leave it back just to block. It kind of holds off your opponent. It's a great 3-drop to have. You'll be happy to have it. Next, we have Glycerbrand. It is a 5 mana card with 3 of those mana being either in green or blue. It's a creature oof. It has Vivid, which states at the beginning of combat on your turn, another target creature you control gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So Vivid is one of the new mechanics. It just cares about the different creature cards that you have, different permanents that you have that have different colors. So I'm really not high on this card. I think it's pretty bad. Keep in mind, it says another target creature you control. So like it can't even target itself with this ability. So like it can never be more than just like a 1/4. It has to be another creature. And if you're laying this down on turn 5 and its stats are 1/4, that's just not good. I don't think very highly of this card at all. I honestly don't think very highly of Vivid, just from what I've seen. They didn't give enough fixing and things like that to really make it pop off. I'm sure like someone's going to do it and it's going to feel incredible when it comes together, but I just think it's going to be really, really hard to pull off. Next, we have Grub's Command. It is 5 mana in the black and red color pairing. It's the Kindred Sorcery for Goblins. It also has the option of choosing 2. You can create a token that's a copy of target goblin you control. Creatures target player controls get +1/+1 and gain haste until end of turn. Destroy target artifact or creature, and target player mills 5 cards and then puts each goblin card milled that way into their hand. So this one I don't think is as good as some of the other commands. I mean, paying 5 mana to kill something and make a copy of a goblin is probably going to be what you're going to want to do most of the time, or kill something and like build the 5 cards and then hope that you can mill some goblins. But I mean, even in like super synergistic decks with like a bunch of goblins, milling 5 cards, there's a chance you could whip. There's a chance you only get 1 goblin, and none of those are going to feel too great. I mean, it's fine, but I don't think it's one of those like with some of the other commands. It's like you want to draft it, you want to try to build around it because they're so strong. And this one, I don't really think it's like that. Like if you get it late, you're going to be like, okay, sure, I'll play this. But if you don't get one, you're not going to feel one way or another about it. Next, we have High Perfect Morcant. It is 4 mana. It is in the green-black color pairing, and it's an Elf Noble. It's a legendary creature. It says whenever High Perfect Morcant or another elf you control enters, each opponent's blights 1. Tap 3 untapped elves you control, proliferate. So the blight, which we discussed earlier, is just putting a -1/-1 counter on a creature, and then proliferate is doubling counters. So basically, what this card's going to be incredible if you're in an elf deck, because what it allows you to do is whenever an elf you control enters and includes itself, you're going to put a -1/-1 counter on something, or your opponent gets to choose where the -1/-1 counter goes, so it's less good in that sense. But then you can tap 3 untapped elves you control and proliferate. And do keep in mind, since this is just like a static ability, even if the elves entered this turn, you can still activate them. You can still, tap a elf that just entered this turn and still make the ability come off. So I think it's really strong. It's really solidly statted. You're going to absolutely love it in an elf deck. Next, we have Hoovel Hurler. I love that. I think that's an interesting name. It is 5 mana in the red-white color pairing, and it enters with 2 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay either white or red double time to remove a counter from this creature. Another target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains flying until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. Um, this card is really good. I really like it. So, like, imagine a world where, like, it's turn 5, you lay this card down, and it is um, a 4/5, right? Well, because you already had to pay 5 mana to lay it down, you know the next turn you're going to have the mana that you need to do the remove the counter thing. And if you were to able to remove 2 of those counters, like say that you pay the 4 mana, add this ability to one other creature, and then you add this ability to itself. Well, next thing you know, you're attacking with a 7/7 in the air. I think that's incredible. This card's so good that, like, even if you don't end up in like red white, I would still like try to cast it, because I mean, there's a chance that if you are even one of these color pairs, you have the 2 mana needed on turn 1. And even if the next turn you can only activate the ability one time, if you activate it for yourself, that's still a 5/6 flying in the air. That's huge. So yeah, I think this card is incredible. You're going to love having that card. So you have Kirill, a tentative first year. It is also in the red-white color pairing. It's 3 mana. It's a legendary creature, vampire cleric. It says tap 2 untap creatures you control. Copy target triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Activate only once each turn. I think this card's really strong. You're going to really enjoy it, especially in you've already seen like in red and white that they've got some stuff going on, like some mana abilities and things like that, where you can double up those mana abilities, and it's going to feel really good. It's going to feel great if you can get this with the card that we just had before this, with the adding the counters and giving it the +1/+0 and making it flying. That's going to be pretty backbreaking. And again, like, because it's a static ability about the 2 untapped creatures you control, tap 2 untapped creatures you control, you can do this on the turn that you play it. I think this card is a really solid card. You're going to be very happy to have it. Next, we have Lowryn, Imperfected Naturalist. It is an elf. It's in the green-black color pairing. It's a legendary creature. And it says when Lowryn enters, mill 4 cards, then you may put a creature or land card from among the mill cards on top of your library. And then the second ability is you can pay 5, with 3 of those being either black or green hybrid. You can discard a land card, create a 1/1 black and green creature token for each land card in your graveyard. I think this card is really, really good. It's nicely statted as a 1/3. When it enters, you get to mill things, which in this color pairing, the green-black color pairing in particular, there's a lot of graveyard stuff going on, so you're going to be happy to mill cards. And then you get to put whatever you're needing on top. So, like, if you need a land, you can put it in. If you don't need a land and you got lands, then it just helps set this up for later turns. And I mean, just imagine if, like, you end up the game goes late, you're really not doing too much, and you're just kind of sitting around, but you have 4 lands in your graveyard. And we do have like evolving wilds in this set as well, which we'll discuss in the land. So, like, you have lands that do sacrifice and go into the graveyard anyways. So even if you're just creating like 2 1/1s or 1/1/1, you're still adding to the board, and maybe your opponent's flooding out or something like that. Like, you're still doing something, which I love that a lot of these cards have mana abilities to them, because sometimes when games get late, and it can just be so draining when you're sitting there and you're drawing lands and you really don't have anything going on and there's nothing to do and you're just like stalling out the board. So I really like this card. I think very highly of it. I think you're going to enjoy it in their elf deck. Next, we have Marlene Faye Ascendant. She is in the Sultai color pairing. So she is 5 mana with 1 being green, 1 being black, 1 being blue. She's a legendary creature, elf, fairy, noble. She has flying. Whenever Marlene or another elf or fairy you control enter, exile the top 2 cards of target opponent's library. Once each turn, you may cast a spell with mana value less than or equal to the number of elves and fairies you control from among cards exiled with Marlene this turn without paying its mana cost. Yeah, I think this card's insane. I think you're going to really like it. There's a lot of stuff. You can go either way with it. If you end up with, which you're probably going to end up more in like the green deck anyways to be able to splash for this. But either way, like if you're in the blue and you get some fairies going, you're going to be happy with that too. It's just a very, very solid card. I mean, the fact that you get to not just 1, but like 2 cards from the top of your opponent's library, and you can cast either one of them for free potentially is huge. You're definitely going to have more than just like 1 or 2 elves laying around. And even if she's all by herself and you can't do anything with her, you're still exiling 2 cards every single turn. And it happens anytime that you add to the board too. So, like, if you lay down with her and you only have her, but then the next turn you lay down 2 more elves, I mean, that's just insane. Then you're milling 4 or exiling 4 cards of your opponent with the potential to lay down a 3-drop. it's just insane. It can really run away with games, and it will run away with games. And you're going to be very happy to have it, and you're going to be very upset to have it get played against you. Next, we have Marrow Sky Swimmer. It is in the blue-white color pairing, so that's the Merfolk pairing. It does have Convoke, which was what we were talking about earlier. It has Flying, Vigilance. Other creatures enter whenever this creature enters. Create a 1/1 white and blue Merfolk token creature. So you know how good is a 5-mana Flying Vigilance that creates a 1/1 and it's a 2/2? Not the greatest, but the fact that you can Convoke and you can do other things to make this cost less, like I'm even paying 3 mana. If you could pay 3 mana for a 2/2 flyer with Vigilance and get a 1/1, I mean that's pretty solid. And do keep in mind, because of the Convoke mechanic and how it's so prominent in this particular color pair, there are going to be creatures where you get additional abilities or additional effects just from tapping them. So I think this is a really solid common. If you're in the Merfolk deck, you're going to be very happy to have this card. Next, we have Mischievous Sneakling. I love that. I think that's a cool name. It is in the Dimir color pairing, the blue-black color pairing. It's a shapeshifter. It's a changeling. It has flash. It's a 2/2. This is probably like the definition of like, like it's cool. It's got flash. If your opponent has like a 1/2 and they swing in with it, you can ambush them, and that's going to be fine. A lot of times it's just because it's a changeling, you're going to want one because it'll fit in with whatever synergy deck you have going on. But yeah, it's just there. Next, we have Morcat's Loyalist. It is in the green-black color pairing. It's another elf. It's a lord, so other elves you control get +1/+1. And when this creature dies, return another target elf card from your graveyard to your hand. It is a 3/2, but do keep in mind it's not legendary or anything, so you can't have multiple of these in your deck so they can pump each other up. Lords are incredibly powerful. We just saw this in Avatar, the last set, with the Lord for the allies that gave them all +1/+1, and it was a really strong card. So yeah, I mean, you're gonna be pretty happy having this card, and there's a chance in which you have multiple of them, and then that's gonna feel even better. And the fact that also, whenever it dies, you can get another elf card from your graveyard. So yeah, I mean, just an incredible great card for an uncommon. Next, we have Noggle Robber. It is in the green-red color pairing. It is a Noggle Rogue, and when this creature enters or dies, you get a treasure token. So I think this card's really solid. We've seen cards like this similar in the past, like 3 mana, 3/3 that gives you a treasure token, and this one's even better because it gives you a treasure token when it enters, and then another one when it is no longer needed. So I just think it's really, really strong. It can really help you. I mean, imagine like worst case scenario, you lay down your 3-drop, you get a treasure token, and then they kill it, and then you get another treasure token. So I mean, then you go from having 3 mana to having 5 mana, and if you have another land in your hand, the next turn you could have a 6-drop. And because of the color pairing, the Gruul color pairing that it's in, I mean, those are typically the ones that have like the big creatures anyway. So you're going to feel really happy to have this card in your deck. Next, we have Prideful Feastling. It is in the white-black color pairing. It's a shapeshifter. It's a 2/3, and it has lifelink. Again, this is similar to the 2/2 that we saw a couple of cards back that just kind of is there. This card's going to feel the same. It's just kind of there. You're going to like it if you're in the white deck because it's a Merfolk. You're going to like it in the black deck because it can be a goblin or it can be an elf or anything like that, whatever you need it to be. And that's where the real value comes in, is its changeling part. The lifelink is less so, but I mean, lifelink is important. We've seen anytime that you have lifelink and you can, swing in, then it's technically like a 4-point swing because you're going up 2 points, they're going down 2 points, and that's going to feel good if they don't have anything to block it. Next, we have Raiding Scheme. So it is in the green-red color pairing. It's 5 mana. It's an enchantment. It says each non-creature spell you cast has Conspire. Conspire means as you cast a non-creature spell, you may tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share the color with it. When you do, copy it, and you may choose new targets for the copy. A copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. This card's just not good in limited. It's just paying 5 mana and then doing stone cold nothing is not good. That's how you lose games very quickly in limited. There's going to be, you're gonna kind of look at this through rose-colored glasses and think about like, oh, well, if I can just get it down, and then the next turn I can start doubling spells. But again, even then it's situational because you have to have. It's whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you can tap 2 untapped creatures you control that share a color with it. So like, first of all, you have to have a non-creature spell, and then you have to have 2 creatures that have the same typing as the non-creature, or the same color typing as the non-creature that you're doing, and then you can copy it and choose new targets for the copy. And the reason it says a copy of a permanent spell becomes a token. So it's like if you have like a, a duplicate effect or something like that, you would get, a token and then another token or something like that. But it is for non-creature. So it's not like, even if you cast a creature spell, it doesn't do anything. It's a nothing card in limited, and that's just not good. Next, we have Reaping Willow. It is in the black-white color pairing. It's 4 mana. It's a tree folk. It is a 3/6. It's got lifelink, and when this creature enters, you have 2 -1/-1 counters on it. You can pay 1 and a white or a black to remove 2 counters from this creature, and you can return another target creature with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. I think this card's great. It's a very solid uncommon. There's even a world where it's so strong that, like, if you're only in black or white, even though it's going to be hard to pull off, you might even want to consider doing it just because of the ability to be able to lay down. Basically, you lay down a 1/4, and then you can pay mana on the next turn to turn it into its 3/6 and get a creature card back. And that's really, really strong. Being able to get things out of the graveyard straight onto the battlefield is way better than just putting them into your hand. So yeah, I think this card's great. You're going to love to have it in your deck. We have Senir, Innovative First Year. It is 4 mana in the blue-red color pairing. It's a legendary creature, goblin sorcery. It's got Vivid. It says, at the beginning of your first main phase, reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal X non-land cards, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. For each of those colors, you may exile a card of that color from among the revealed cards, then shuffle. You may cast the exile cards this turn. So again, I'm not very high on Vivid. I'm not very high on this card. Basically there's a world where no matter what, when you lay it down, on your next main phase, on your next main phase, you will be able to reveal two non-land cards. So again, I'm not very high on Vivid. Basically, I mean, because this is already 2 colors, worst case scenario, on your next main phase, you're going to reveal X non-land, 2 non-land cards, and then out of those, you can pick one of them, and you'll be able to play that card, but you still have to pay for its mana. It's not like a free cost or anything. And again, I don't think that they did enough for Vivid to really pop. This card's it's understated. And, even though it is like a static ability, like you're going to get this ability every turn, you're going to get card advantage, which is good. I don't think the upside is really high enough. I don't see the value in Vivid, and I don't see the value in this card. Next, we have Shadow Urchin. It is 3 mana. It is in the black and red color pairing. It's an oof, and when this creature attacks, you blight 1. So again, you got to put a counter on a creature or a -1/-1 counter on a creature you control. Whenever a creature you control with 1 or more counters on it dies, exile that many cards from the top of your library until your next end step. You may play those cards. So this card, I don't think very highly of it. I mean, it's got good stats, but it's 3 mana and it's a 3/4, which is solid. It's a rare. When you attack, you have to blight 1. So you have to put a -1/-1 counter on something. In a world where like this is your 3-drop and it's your only creature card, then you're making it smaller to attack in with it. And then its ability is very situational because you're really only going to be losing like 1 creature at a time. And the creature that does go away, it has to have counters on it. So whether it's +1/+1 counters or -1/-1 counters or anything, like there has to be counters on it. So if you just like swing in with the creature and it dies, you get nothing for that. There's no trade-off for that. So yeah, I don't think it's that great. I wouldn't really value it too highly. Next, we have Stoic Grove Guide. It is in the green-black color pairing. It's an elf druid. You can pay a green and a green-black and a generic, and you can exile this card from your graveyard, create a 2/2 black-green elf creature token, activate only as a sorcery, and if you lay it down, it's a 5/4. This card's very interesting because it's actually a card you'd rather have in your graveyard because paying 5 mana for a 5/4 that does nothing, it's just like a vanilla like 5/4. Not the best. I mean, yeah, there's stuff you can do with elves, but you just, it's not really what you want to be doing with 5 mana. Whereas if you can mill this card and then you can just exile it for the 2 mana, create a 2/2, that's a much better stat line. It's definitely more so where you want to be with this card. So yeah, I think it's very situational. Next, we have Six Command. It's in the white-blue color pairing. It's 3 mana. This is the Merfolk Kindred sorcery. This one also lets you choose two. You create a token that's a copy of target merfolk creatures. A player controls gains lifelink until end of turn. Target player draws a card. Tap target creature. Put a stun counter on it. So this is 3 mana. So that makes this a little bit like these are like none of these abilities are very strong. But because it's only 3, I mean it does make it better. And being able to put a stun counter on something that does mean something. And paying 3 mana, like there's tons of cards that in the past where you paid 3 mana just to draw a single card. So this one lets you draw a card and do something else, which is good. The copy of the Merfolk is an ability that you might want to use depending on what the Merfolk is and how late in the game it is. But the creature's target player controls gains lifelink until end of turn. I mean, that's going to be almost non-existent. Like you're just never really going to want to do that because it doesn't buff your board. It doesn't do anything. And if they have good blockers, that it just isn't really going to come up that much. I don't think of it highly as some of the other commands, but I mean, you'll play it in a Merfolk deck and you'll be happy with it. Next, we have Tam, Mindful First Year. It is in the green-blue color pairing. It's a legendary creature, Gorgon Wizard. Each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colors. Target creature you control becomes all colors until end of turn. So this is kind of like one of those cards where if Vivid was going to work, you're going to want to pack one, pick one, this card, and then just kind of build from there. So basically with its tap ability, you're able to have, all 5 colors on every single turn, which will make your Vivid cards insane. So, the value you will get out of them. It's also good because it helps you kind of like it blanks removal a lot of the time. So like, because you can do this on your turn, your opponent's turn, it doesn't really matter. You just kind of like wait for them to play a kill spell or do something, and then you can tap it, and then it negates that spell every time. So I think this is one of the if Vivid's going to work, you're going to want to have this card in your deck, and I think it's a great 2-drop. The next card we have is Thought Left Lieutenant. It is green and white. It's a Kifkin soldier. It's a 2/2, and it says whenever this creature or another Kifkin you control enters, target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains trample until end of turn. So this card's like, it's fine. You're not going to feel like too crazy about playing it. You're not going to feel bad for playing it. There is a world where like you lay this down, and then let's say the next turn you can double spell. Well, then it's going to feel a lot better because it's a 4/4. Or if you target something else, whatever the other creature you target becomes bigger, and that's going to feel great. And green and white, you're going to have a lot of creatures. You would hope that in that color pair you have a lot of creatures, and you're going wide and you're doing things like that. But again, like it's just fine. Next, we have Tristan's Command. It is in the green-black color pair. It's 6 mana in total. It's the Elf Kindred sorcery, and it says choose 2. Create a token that's a copy of target elf you control. Return 1 or 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Destroy target creature or enchantment. Creatures player controls get +3/+3 until end of turn. Untap them. This card's pretty good. I think it's one of the better commands. You're going to be pretty happy with all these abilities that late in the game. There's a good chance you have permanents in your graveyard you're going to want to get back. There's a good chance that your opponent has a creature or an enchantment that's just irking you that you're going to want to get rid of. The creature's target player controls +3/+3 until end of turn, and you untap them. I don't really see where that would come into play. I mean, unless you had something with like Convoke or anything. But I mean, most of the time you're just buffing your whole board and giving them +3/+3 every single creature you have in an elf deck where you probably have a lot of elves on the battlefield. That could swing a game in your favor. So yeah, I mean, I think all these abilities are great. You're going to be happy to play this card, especially in your elf deck. Next, we have Twin Flame Travelers. It is 4 mana. It's in the blue and red color pairing. It's an elemental sorcerer. It's got flying. If a triggered ability of another elemental you control triggers, it triggers an additional time. It's a 3/3. So 4 mana 3/3 flyer is not good. Unfortunately, we've gone past that. It is no longer considered a good card in Magic. It just dies to too many things. And it's also very situational. If another elemental you control's ability triggers, it triggers an additional time. There are elementals in the set. I don't think it's going to be broken enough to where you can really get anything going with this card. I don't think it's a very good card. Probably a build around, very situational card, if anything. Next, we have Vibrance. It is 3 mana in the red-green color pairing. It's an elemental incarnation. It says when this creature enters, if double red was spent to cast it, this creature deals 3 damage to any target. If double green was spent to cast it, you search your library for a land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. You gain 2 life, and you can evoke this card. Next, we have... So this card's interesting. I mean, I think it's good. The thing that's weird about it compared to the other cards that we've seen is that it is only 5 mana. So you can't like trigger abilities more than once each or more than twice. So like you can pay 4 green and you get 2 lands and you gain 4 life, or you can pay 4 red and then you can deal a total of 6 damage, which that will be pretty backbreaking. Like especially if your opponent's already low on life total or something, like it can just win a game. But the fact that you can't do it like that one additional time, it just kind of is annoying because other than that, it's kind of like an understated card. I mean, a 5 mana 4/4, you can evoke it, and if if you're in like a base green deck, but you are splashing some other colors and you have the double green pip, like it's a solid turn 2 play. It reminds me of the card that we just saw in Aang, the lesson card that lets you search for a land and gain 2 life. So like in that case, it'll be fine. But again, like it's not nearly as broken as the other cards that were on there. And the fact that it's like awkwardly mana statted, I don't think it's as good. Like it's still a solid card. You're going to enjoy having it. Next, we have Barosha's Tomb Skimmer. It is in the Dimir color pairing, the blue-black color pairing. It's a fairy rogue. It has flying. And whenever you cast a spell during an opponent's turn, you may pay 1 life if you do draw a card. So 3 mana, 2/3 flying on its own is like, like just kind of there. It's okay. It does have a little bit of upside, and in blue and black, there's probably more of an ability for you to be able to do stuff on your opponent's turn. But I just think it's too situational for it to really be anything special. Like you're gonna feel great if you can lay this card down and it stays around long enough, and you get to draw like 1 or 2 extra cards off of it. Like that's a great. I would say like it's done its purpose at that point. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of there. You'll take it or you'll leave it. It all depends on like what kind of deck you're building and what you want to have in it. Next, we have Wary Farmer. It is 3 mana. It's in the green-white color pairing. It's a Kithkin citizen. At the beginning of your end step, if another creature entered the battlefield under your control this turn, you can surveil 1. So a 3 mana 3/3 is like the solid baseline stat. It's a common. Weirdly enough, because of the surveil trigger, you might actually want this more in like an elf deck than you would like your normal Kithkin deck. However, if it's towards the later of the game and you're flooding out or you really need a mana or anything like that, then surveil's a strong ability. Like you're gonna enjoy having it there. But yeah, just kind of some interesting flavor going on because we don't really think of like Kithkin as like mill kind of graveyard surveil stuff, but yeah, it might actually be better in your elf decks or any of those kind of builds. And to be finishing off the cards in our multicolor set, we have Wistfulness. It is 5 mana in the green-blue color pairing. It's the Elemental Carnation. And it says, when this creature enters, if double green was spent to cast it, exile target artifact or enchantment an opponent controls. If double blue was spent to cast it, you draw 2 cards and discard a card. And you can evoke it for either the blue or the green mana. So this one, similarly to the last card we saw, being 5 mana, kind of makes this card not as good as the other ones. It's just like being able to only trigger this ability once instead of like potentially 3 times. It just changes the course of it. Now, with that being said, I do think because it's in the green color pairing and green does have some like graveyard stuff going on, invoking this and then getting it back later is a possibility. I mean, you're not going to feel bad. It's not going to like break the game like some of the other ones, but I mean, you're not going to feel bad about having this. Especially like if they have like an artifact or enchantment that's really getting on your nerves. But yeah, I mean, it's just kind of there. It's not as good as the other ones, but it's not terrible. You're going to be happy to have it. All right, we have 2 colorless cards. The first one is Changeling Wayfinder. It's 3 generic, and it's a shapeshifter, Changeling. And when this creature enters, you can search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. It's a 1/2. We've seen this card several times in the past. They call it different things, but all the outcomes end up being the same. 3 mana for a 1/2 is like, oh, that's not like a good stat line. And it's not. But you basically got to look at it as like it's a 3 mana 1/2 that draws you a card. And yes, it's a land card, but it's still thinning out your deck. It's still helping you get that land, like especially if you don't have anything for a 4-drop or anything, or if you're trying to splash for a color and you just need to get that other land in there. I think this card's going to go by pretty fast for for a common. And it's definitely a card you should take highly. Next, we have Rooftop Percher. It is 5 generic. It's a shapeshifter. It's changeling. It has flying. And when this creature enters, exile up to 2 target cards from a graveyard. You gain 3 life. So if a 4 mana 3/3 flyer is not good, then a 5 mana 3/3 flyer is really not good. I do think there's upside in this, just being able to gain the 3 life, and especially if you're going up against like a graveyard deck, you can really kind of throw off their strategy. But again, like you have to get all the way up to 5 mana to do it. There's a lot of other cards in the set that are just better for 5 mana that you would want to play over this. I think it's going to end up getting cut a lot of the time. It's a very situational card. All right, and then lastly, we have our lands. So they finished off the cycle of the shock lands. So this one we have the Blood Crypt, the Hollowed Fountain, the Overgrown Tomb, the Steam Vents, and the Temple Garden. All of them are shock lands. They can all you can pay 2, and if you don't, they enter tap. They do have the different color types. So like you have the Swamp Mountain, you have the Plains Island, the Swamp Forest, the Island Mountain, and the Forest Plains. These are solid cards. If you're playing this in paper, you're probably going to want to take them just because I think they're like, they always drop in price. They'll be like $10 for a little bit. They always end up shooting back up closer to 20. So you'll probably just take them, especially if you're just trying to build out your set. All right. But, again, in limited on draft, you're not going to take these cards very highly. They're going to will. You're not really going to need them unless you're in a very specific color pair. All right. So with all that being said, they're all just kind of solid. They're there. Next, we have Eclipse Realms. It is a land. It's an uncommon land. It says, as this land enters, choose an elemental, elf, fairy, giant, goblin, kifkin, merfolk, or tree folk. You can add 1 colorless, or you can tap and add 1 mana of any color, but you can only spend that mana to cast spells of the chosen type or activate the ability of a source of the chosen type. So see, this is when the kifkin, or when the other land, the sorcery cards and the instant cards that share the kindred. This is when the kindred cards come in handy as far as being able to cast them. So that's where this ability really comes into play. I think this is a solid land. Do keep in mind it is uncommon. So it's not like these are going to be running around like crazy. You're probably going to want to be picking them pretty highly, especially if you're trying to do the vivid, crazy nonsense or anything like that. Or if you're just want the extra card just for fixing some of the powerful cards in this set that are the 3 mana cards. You're going to want it just to help you be able to cast those. The other so yeah, I think this is again another very solid card. And then lastly, we have Evolving Wilds. Evolving Wilds, we've seen this card a million times. Sacrifices land, search your library for a basic land card, and put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffled. Again, there's a lot of synergy that goes on with like lands being in graveyard, so it's good in the graveyard. It's good to help you splash that 3rd color that you're looking for. It's going to feel really good in the Vivid decks, and it is a common, so you're going to see this more often than others. I do think similar to, because there's so few lands in this set, that really help fixing, you're probably going to want to take it at a higher priority than you would in like other sets that had all sorts of fixing all over the place. But it again, it's always play solid. You're always happy to have it, especially if you're trying to splash colors or anything. And that will wrap us up for our multicolor, colorless, and lands. If you like the content, be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment. I really, really hope that you all get out there during pre-release and you go and you draft this at your local game store. Build the most insane deck you can and come home with all the packs that you want. Stay tuned. We'll also be coming out with all the other colors, starting with white, then blue, then black, then red, and then finally finish it off with green. Everything that you all do helps me grow and helps the channel grow. So I just really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to view the channel, and I wish you all the best of luck during pre-release. Stay tuned for the next one.